You go to Auburn University, I mean, that's an SEC school, you're playing with the big boys. You assume you're going to the pros. Like, it's not even, there's nothing about you that says you're not. Like, you are gonna be a professional athlete. And so when that's taken away from you, it's absolutely devastating.
So tell us about the idea of legacy gyms.
When you walk into a college football weight room, I mean, it's like the music's blasting, chalk's flying, there's turf, there's softball team in the corner, there's football teams all hyped up, shirts are off. You know, it's a fun environment. It makes you, as soon as you walk in there, you're like, oh, it's time to work. Like, it's time. And then there's community, and it just had a vibe. So I was like, I want to take a little bit of that and turn it into a commercial setting for a gym.
So tell me about the story here with the NDO.
About 1 year after opening Legacy, one of my clients, Rico Love, we were just like having a conversation about how we just don't ever take a day off. We're like, it's no days off, no days off. And we didn't mean it from like the grind and hard work, and like, we meant it from, we don't take a day off that's been given to us.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, a podcast about growth, mindset, and entrepreneurship. I'm Moshe Popack, and today we speak with fitness pioneer Manning Sumner.
Manning was a promising high school and college football player until he broke his back multiple times, ending his NFL dream. But he persevered and studied exercise science to prevent others from experiencing what he went through. Today, after finally being free of chronic back pain, he's thriving. Manning's the founder of Legacy Gyms in Miami, with 6 gyms crushing it and a 7th on the way. Plus, he's created a no days off mantra, which encourages everyone he trains to seize each day.
Hi, Manning, and welcome to the show.
Moshe, thank you so much for having me, man.
Of course. So I don't know, I was thinking about this idea. So here you are years ago, you know, you're setting up, you're playing football, and, you break your back. You know, I'm thinking about that on myself. That's probably pretty devastating. You know, what was like the surrounding circumstances there, and then what happened after that point?
Yeah, so which time? So I broke my back twice. Well, you hit me with the emotions already. So junior in high school, played 9 games with a broken back and was misdiagnosed. They told me that I pulled a muscle in my back. So got MRIs, x-rays, all these things from renowned doctors, like big time doctors, and they misdiagnosed me. So I'm literally playing in 9 games with a broken back. And after the game, I would stand outside of my truck. I grew up in Alabama, so I had the lifted truck, with the big old tires, and you had to like literally jump in your truck. And I would stand out in front of my truck and just start bawling, crying, because I couldn't even get into my truck after the game, so my back hurt so bad. And then finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was actually sitting, I'll never forget, I was sitting in Dr. Matthews, our offensive coordinator's English class. It was back then when coaches had to teach. And I don't know if they still do that, but that's how it was back in my day. And I'm sitting at my desk, and I couldn't get out. Like, I physically couldn't get out of my desk. Wow. That was how much pain I was in. So right then and there, I was like, something is absolutely wrong. And so they sent me to the doctor again. I went to a specialist, and they scanned it, and they used a bone scan this time, and they found a fracture in my L4, L5 vertebrae in the facet joint. It was completely fractured. So then you go and they tell you, you're never going to walk like you normally, you're never going to be an athlete, blah, 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 blah. And I'm literally listening to it going, that's not me. There's no way I'm giving this dream up. So I sought a chiropractor's help through my dad, and my chiropractor was like, hey, take these pills, and they were like bone factor 1. It was like basically calcium, magnesium pills. He's like, take these like M&Ms and then get as flexible as possible and get as strong as possible and do everything that the doctors tell you to not do. So I literally was lifting more, stretching more, doing everything I could to get back. Make a long story short, I got myself back, became the defensive player of the year in Alabama, earned what they call a preferred walk-on to Auburn University. So it's like where you actually can come with the scholarship players and earn your way to earn a scholarship. I earned a scholarship my first year, and then I was doing really, really well. I was backing up Takeo Spikes, who's gonna be a Hall of Fame football player. Shout out to Keo. He was just an unbelievable man and great guy. He has his own podcast too, but I was his backup, and then when he left to go to the NFL, I was, it's my turn. Like, now here I am going to start. And I was a redshirt sophomore year, and here comes the back pain. And it just got debilitating again. Went back to the doctor, and I actually refractured. So what happened is a layer of calcium, by taking those pills and getting so strong, you could actually see on the x-ray, you could see this layer of calcium over the fracture. So I actually did heal it. But then lifting too much, getting humongous, and just being, and back then we tackled people with our heads and speared people, and just all the collisions and the weightlifting and everything, I broke it again. And so I really had to...
It was in the same spot.
Exact same spot. Same fracture. And it's excruciating, pain too. And so I don't even know, what was the original question?
No. So it was, no. So I was just like, I wanted to understand, that journey, but then also about healing from that spot. Meaning, here you are, right? You have this expectation, right? It's your turn. And I assume at some point you thought, maybe I can go to the NFL.
Oh, well,
right?
Actually, I mean, you're kind of, when you grow up in Alabama, your dad played football, you are, there's a lot of accolades. Like, I was defensive player of the year, I won a lot of awards and stuff. Like, you go to Auburn University, I mean, that's an SEC school, you're playing with the big boys. You assume you're going to the pros. Like, it's not even, there's nothing about you that says you're not. Like, you are going to be a professional athlete. And so when that's taken away from you, it's absolutely devastating. Like, devastating. You feel like you lose your identity, you lose who you are. I mean, I could throw a football before I could walk. Like, I was throwing a football out of my crib before I could even walk. So I was always like, this is my journey. But then you got to pivot and you got to come up with something. So at the time, I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I really had a knack for getting people to do more than they thought they could do themselves. So I had a knack of kind of leadership and training. And so what I did was I really started diving into my degree, which was exercise science, kinesiology, and then I started training some of the guys on the team. And then another reason why is I wanted to learn why my body failed me and what I did to myself that kind of helped create that problem. And so I was really intentional with coming up with how can I figure out a way to train athletes in a smarter way so that they don't have to go through what I went through. So that became my passion,
And what did the rehab process look like? Someone that breaks a back, it probably was months of probably rehab. Coming from, you can't sit in your desk, right?
Yeah, it's more, the thing is I chose not to have surgery. So the surgery just sounded, and to this day I haven't had surgery. The surgery sounded just horrible. They, remove a disc, 6 screws, 6 months in a wheelchair, then 6 months of rehab. It just sounded horrible. So I actually went the again, holistic route of just trying to better myself and get more flexible and get my core stronger. I read a book called The Gift of Injury by Dr. Stuart McGill, which helped me tremendously. And the process, believe it or not, because I went from 240 pounds, lifting 600 pounds and all these things and hitting and playing football, to not playing football, to losing about 30 pounds and just kind of getting more fitness oriented, it actually helped the healing process a lot faster because I wasn't really rehabbing to go play football again. I was rehabbing just to live a normal life again. So that process wasn't as long as you would think, but the pain never really, subsided until, honestly, until 3 or 4 years ago. I've been living with pain for 20-something years.
Wow. So. Because I know I have a lot of friends that have different injuries, and it's just management, and it's tough not to be on, they have stuff like Oxycontin and all that, and all the painkillers, and you got to just have strong will to get past that.
Well, I went down that road later on, right. when I was trying to make a living and I was training 16 hours a day and just shooting pain going down my right side of my body 24 hours. I would have to, when I wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, I would lay on my side to put my shoes on because I couldn't put my shoes on like a normal person. And then there was a period of time where I was taking 6 to 8 Percocets a day, and it didn't do anything from a standpoint of it didn't make me high or anything. It literally just kind of somewhat calmed the pain down. Not a lot, but a little bit. but it did, made you moody as hell. It, you didn't really enjoy the way you felt. And then you knew that it wasn't good for you. So it only lasted for, I would say, about 6 months where I went down that path. But it was literally it was a path that it was not abuse. It was a path of like, I had to do something for the pain. And that was like the only thing. And then I met an osteopath. Shout out to Dr. Goddard, the osteopathic center. He saved my life, literally saved my life. So I met him in an elevator. So I'm in the elevator. I lived in the Quantum penthouse right next to Mario Chalmers. And I'm coming out of the elevator, and then Sean walks in. I have my 2 dogs, my 2 pit bulls. And I'm walking, and he's walking behind me. And he's like, "Are you hurt?" Like that. And I was like, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" And he's like, "I can tell by the way you're walking." He's like, "I can help you." And I said, "How?" And he goes, "Prolotherapy." He goes, I'm an osteopath. I can do these injections. And at the time, he was using something called volcanic ash. And I don't know the medical term, but it's called prolotherapy. So I was so desperate at the time that I was like, sure. So he literally comes to my apartment, and he has a needle like this long, and he injects like 50-something injections down my back. Complete stranger. Didn't know him, but I was just at the time, I was like, I'll do anything at this point. And sure enough, 3 days later, no pain. Like none. Like none. Absolutely no pain.
Let me ask you, just for people that don't know, because an osteopath, I don't know if that's, I know maybe a naturopath. I don't know if they're able to get licensed in Florida, but an osteopath, what is an osteopath?
So an osteopath, and Dr. Goddard would probably butcher my description of this, but what I understand it as is it's more of a soft manipulation that they do. And then they have a lot of understanding of everything that has to do with your bones, ligaments, and joints. So from an injection standpoint, they know, like he does it blind, like he doesn't use an x-ray or anything. He's literally injecting like through feel. And then they can like for example, you go to a chiropractor, it's kind of manipulation, and they call it hard because you hear the popping and there's actually force there. With Sean, like he'll just hold your head and he'll change the bone structure in your skull or in your neck just by not even doing it. Or he can, if your rib is out of place, he'll just put his hand there and he can move your rib. Like it's a little seems like voodoo science, but absolutely believe in it and it works. And again, terrible description. We probably have a better description on Google than what I just gave. But to my understanding, that's kind of what it boils down
And you
to.
would believe for your journey, in other words, right, there's Western medicine and then I guess more Eastern. I guess maybe there's something in between, because I tend to look backwards on results. So, going to an osteopath doesn't seem like a typical way in America. But meanwhile, here you are saying that was the thing that healed you.
Yeah, and I think that was from early on, because if I take myself back to high school, so my dad always took us to a chiropractor. Even when we were sick, we went to a chiropractor. We really never went to regular doctors that much. And so I was already kind of used to chiropractic, osteopath, acupuncture, these kind of, I was already introduced at a very young age. So for me, it was just kind of, and that's probably, now looking back on it, that's why I trusted when Dr. Goddard said who he was. I was like, oh, osteopath, okay, you know what you're doing. So now I will say that, though, you do need to do your homework before you just go out there and go to any chiropractor, any osteopath. They're all, just like any profession.
Sure.
Make sure you know that they know what they're doing. But definitely a big believer in that, because if you really think about it, the other option was not an option. I wouldn't be the man I am today and be able to do the things I do today if I would have had that surgery and they literally would have removed that disc and put 6 screws in my back. I can only imagine. And then there's no guarantee. That's the thing that blows my mind, is these back surgeons are like, it might work, maybe.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
which is a scary thought. So
That's I find a lot of right. They're always hedging because of liability, right? So they'll always say it may work or it may not work, right? And it's really tough, because you want if you're taking certain risks on your body, you want things that work.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So tell us about when you you go on this, I guess, this journey of after you have this injury, you have this degree in exercise health and exercise science and health. So now you go ahead and start training other people.
So senior year, I got an opportunity to either finish my degree in school or do a internship. So I actually chose to do an internship, and I was the assistant strength coach at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama, with, ironically, my personal trainer, who was then the head strength coach. He personal trained me when I was in 7th grade, Tommy Rowland. So I got to actually be under him, and then he was just awesome and just showed me the ropes. I was actually training the football team, the tennis team, a little bit of the baseball team, and just doing that. And then in that process of getting my degree, I was in Alabama doing a lot of personal training, and a buddy of mine called me from Miami. He was a model down here, and he was like, hey, if you shave your head, and this is when I had, lovely blonde hair. Those days are over with. But I actually had a full head of hair. He's like, if you shave your head, you can, and this is funny because Bad Boys the new movie is about to come out. He's like, I can get you on Bad Boys 2 as a stunt double, body double. And so I was like, let's do it. So I shaved my head like 2 hours later, sent him, I think it was a Polaroid or something like that at the time, and I got hired. And I literally packed my bags and drove down to Miami, and I haven't looked back since. So that's how I ended up here. So
I love that. And then, so tell us about the idea of legacy gyms. So from what I understand, you're training, and 2 clients come in at the same time. Tell us the beginnings of that journey.
All right. So before Legacy, I was here in Miami training a lot of professional athletes, a lot of celebrities, just a lot of people in general. I really was known as somebody that had a lot of clients, like training all day long from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. It was kind of my thing. And then I was traveling. I chose to travel with Scott Stapp, the former lead singer of Creed. I got to travel with him. And then ironically, I started traveling with this now known con artist, who at the time I didn't know was a con artist, but because he was paying me great, and we were flying around in private jets and staying at penthouses and all this stuff. But his name's Troy Stratos, and he's in prison today in Sacramento. But so through those processes of traveling a lot with Scott Stapp and with this con artist, I was going to all these different gyms in the country. So from Salt Lake City to Atlantic City to LA to Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, literally we were traveling all over the country. And every time I would do it, I just started to take mental notes that every single gym was exactly the same. Like every single time you walk into a gym, you walk in, there's a front desk, there's a machine section, there's a cardio section, there's free weight section, there's this little aerobics room tucked in the corner. There's weights everywhere. There's TVs everywhere. The vibe is the same. And it didn't matter where you were. The gyms were just the same. So when I got back to Miami after that traveling, I started taking poster boards, and I started making a dream board of what I envisioned what a gym should be and what it felt like. And I was really taking from that experience of college football. So when you walk into a college football weight room, I mean, it's like the music's blasting, chalk's flying, there's turf, there's softball team in the corner, there's football teams all hyped up, shirts are off. It's a fun environment. It makes you, as soon as you walk in there, you're like, oh, it's time to work. It's time. And then there's community, and it just had a vibe. So I was like, I want to take a little bit of that and turn it into a commercial setting for a gym. Obviously, I wasn't, had tons of money, so I had to find someone to help me with that. And then Legacy came from one of my longtime clients that believed in my vision and saw that, and he was like, well, if you find a location, I'll help you. And so I got on my bike, started riding around Miami, and I rode my bike down this dead-end street, and at the time was Wynwood before Wynwood. So you're talking literally passing hookers on the street. There was 3 crack houses on the left. There was a crack house on the right, dark. It was scary street, to say the least. And I saw this empty warehouse, and I was like, this looks promising. And it said for lease. I was like, this looks promising. And I got off my bike. There was a homeless man shaving at the time, and I went and sat on the train tracks. And I sat on the train tracks, and I kid you not, I literally saw Legacy. I saw the vision.
The vision.
And
Super
it was
important.
massive. The vision was way bigger even than it is today. I'm still haven't, the vision has not been completed yet. But what I saw was an entire block that was Legacy. Sports complex, football field, high rise, the whole 9. And I was like, this is it. So I called him up and I was like, hey, I found the location. And he's like, you're crazy. He's like, there's no way we're opening there. And I'm so sorry, but you said if I find the location. So I was like, we're opening here. So I opened November 2008, dead end street. You know, the hookers were still there. The crack houses were still there. Everybody thought I was crazy. Even my own family was like, what are you doing? And first 2 years was brutal, like brutal. You know, we flooded all the time, and none of my high end clients were like, I'm not driving my Rolls Royce down there. You know, like it was bad in the beginning. But then I was able to, you know, through the persistence and through just convincing people that was the right move, I was able to, you know, get some clientele coming. And then at the time, I was training some professional athletes, and Marion Barber, who was a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, I was training him. And I accidentally double booked. I used to double book all the time. And I would say I accidentally, but I actually was doing it on purpose. And because half the time they didn't show up anyway. So I was like, you know.
That's typical,
Yeah. So shout out to all the trainers that double book and don't let their clients know it. It works. But I had one of my clients show up with him, and she was an overweight woman. She was like, 200, 300 pounds. Like, she was a big woman. And I put them through the exact same workout. The exact same, obviously different weight, but the same exercises, the same rep count, the same rest period. And it was like I put them through this exercise. And when I got done, they were high-fiving each other, and they were smiling, and they both were soaking in sweat. And a light bulb went off. And I was like, and it was right around the time CrossFit was becoming popular, Orange Theory, Barry's Boot Camp, you know, these kind of like community gyms were becoming popular. And I was like, wow, this I could do my philosophy or how I train professional athletes with anyone, with absolutely anyone. From a 7-year-old to a 70-year-old can do these workouts. And so right then and there, I was like, all right, I got to come up with my own Orange Theory, you know, F45, what have you. You know, I need to come up with my own system. And I also was getting to the point in my career where training 16 hours a day, I knew what wasn't going to last. Like, I knew for a fact that I couldn't keep that pace up. And that I had to create something that worked for me that I didn't have to be in. And so a friend of mine introduced a book called The E-Myth Seminar by Michael E. Gerber. And he was like, you need to read this while you're trying to figure out, you know, these systems and stuff. And after reading that book, it was like clear as day. I literally just was off to the races, making the training manual, you know, writing out all the systems, the procedures, the rep scheme, this equipment, that equipment. But then there's trial and error. Like some of it didn't work. Some of it was dangerous, what have you. So I was like, okay, we're not doing the sledgehammer hits. We're not doing the rope climb to the ceiling, because we had this rope climb to the ceiling, and sometimes people would get so excited they made it to the ceiling that they'd ring the cowbell and let go.
Oh my God.
Like, you're talking 20-foot ceilings, and I'd be like, no, you know. So I had to get rid of that one. Some of the more like taxing exercises on the body, I kind of got rid of. And then another thing that I think I did, which is revolutionary, which I don't really feel like anybody else is doing, is that at that time, we also were getting away from traditional equipment and traditional lifting. Yeah. Everything was functional, you know, kettlebells and ropes and tires and sleds and balls and all these things. But the traditional seated chest press, seated row, the things that you see in every single gym it was kind of frowned upon now, even though that's actually putting people in the best position where they don't have to think, they don't have to balance, they just have to give effort. And so it's actually putting them in, and it's a really cool thing is it kind of tricks women into lifting weights too, because they don't really feel like, because it's not a barbell or kettlebell or dumbbell, they're in this machine and they're just working. And it kind of manipulates that feeling. So,
by the way, and I love, you know, I talk about it a lot because I think it always starts from that. You know, you're sitting on the train tracks, you know, in this tough area, and the vision that came to you, right? I think that every successful founder, either they see or they don't see, right? I always look for that. If I'm doing it myself, either I can see it, or of someone that I'm going to invest with, you know, that vision, this is what's going to happen. You have to see it as clear as day, and you put pen to paper, like you're saying,
100%.
Right? You put pen to paper, and then it's just a matter of execution, right? Am I going to go ahead and execute and get that done? I think now more and more, especially since COVID, there is remote work, there's hybrid work, but there's more awareness of community. People are wanting to find meaning and purpose and connect. It doesn't necessarily have to be religion, but it's things that connect people. We're social beings. In the end, that's what people want. Even though I saw a stat that less and less people are getting married. They're not interested in getting married. So we have to come up with other solutions for people to connect with each other, for community, right? People can't just live in a one-bedroom or studio and just be alone and with their computer. They're trying to do that,
right.
But we're not that way.
No, we're not built like that.
We're right. So I think, endorphins and going to the gym, I think that's an amazing journey.
That was a huge eye-opener for me for during the pandemic. That was the thing that stood out the most to me was the lack of when community was taken away from us. The suicides, the depression, all these things started. The alcoholism, all these things started to increase, and the amount. So when they closed us down on March 17th, 2020, I'll never forget that day. We closed down with 3 locations, but we were building out 3 more during that time period. And I don't know if you remember construction workers, for some reason, they couldn't get COVID. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
I don't know why, there was some weird thing. Construction workers.
They're essential workers.
Yeah, they were essential. So construction didn't stop. So it was very bizarre. I had to couldn't operate my gym. People couldn't work out, but construction now that can keep going.
And you couldn't go to the beach, by the way.
Yeah, and forget the beach.
Right?
But
yeah, that's true.
But imagine what happened is when they closed us down, I had 3 locations. Yeah. When they let us back open, I had 6 locations. So I actually grew in the pandemic, which was unheard of. Yeah. And I truly believe that obviously the construction thing helped us, but it was the community. I mean, we literally had people that didn't stop their memberships. We had people that watched us on IG Live every single day. We had such a strong community that it was being built for, at that time, 11 years, or 11 or 12 years. So we just had such a strong community that's why I feel like we came out of the pandemic, and I came out with it with a real awareness that's going to be my main pillar, is that it's going to be culture and community, and I'm going to lean on that. So what does that mean? I need to start to have more amenities. I need to add amenities. I need to add places that people can hang out and stay. I need to add things like we have a beer and wine bar at the Wynwood location. Saturday you get a workout in, and then you hang out and you drink a beer and have a good time. So these kind of things are some of the things I started adding to my gyms. So solely because of community, not even wellness or exercise, but more so of just allowing people a safe place that they know they can come, not be judged. The diversity in our gyms is unbelievable. And it's just like coming and knowing that you can sweat, but you can also have a great conversation or stay. So
I'm seeing that more and more, even though we didn't work out, but Adam Newman created this it's like boring office, but he's like, you know what? We're going to create a sense of, again, that sense of community. You can rent these spaces. We're going to have foosball, ping pong, beers, and if you create that social environment, people are willing to pay a premium to be around. So that's a great business model, and it makes you feel good. Other people feel good. It really, really, really sounds good. And I'm drinking this water, NDO H2O. First of all, I love the bowl. Okay, is that your bowl?
It is. It's legacy. Yeah,
yeah, Pitbull. And
actually Artemis, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, what did I just see a couple days ago? Right, the brand
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Yeah. That's right. I just saw that in news. Liquid Death, valued at $1.4 billion.
Yep.
So what is it? It's water.
Yes.
Right? Free water in a can, right? And I was reading, it's all about the brand. If you can create a brand, that's what it's about. I mean, I think, so tell me about the story here with the NDO.
Yeah, and I think, I'll jump into why I think we're even taking it a step further. So one of my favorite books was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And it's the Nike story. And I read it early on, even before I opened Legacy. And I knew at the time, and I started. So I actually drew this from a picture that I saw on the internet. It looked like this, but it actually had a real goofy looking nose, and so I changed it and made it to where it was my own. And about 1 year after opening Legacy, one of my clients, Rico Love, we were just like having a conversation about how we just don't ever take a day off. We're like, it's no days off, no days off. And we didn't mean it from like the grind and hard work, and like we meant it from we don't take a day off that's been given to us. So no days off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. And this is something that you can do if you're 5 years old, or you can do it if you're 70 years old. But basically the premise behind it is that if you wake up and you have air in your lungs and your eyes open, you can put your feet on the ground, then make the most out of that day. And don't take a day off on that. And it doesn't mean, if that means you want to go to the beach for the day, that's still not taking a day off on you. If it means you're doing yoga, or if it means you're going to work, or if it means you're taking a rest day or whatever, it's all no days off. It's no days off on yourself. So reading that book, I kind of saw how Nike did it. It was Nike, just do it, and then the swoosh, right? And so for me, the swoosh. So for me, it was like, okay, Legacy is the name of the gyms. No days off is the movement, the motto, like just do it. And then our pit bull is our swoosh. That's our badge that when people see it, they can be like, no days off. Like just the same way if you see the swoosh, you're automatically just do it. So that was like the reason behind it. And then how I ended up with water was Adam Siegel, one of my investors, we were trying to raise money for the gyms. And he introduced me to a man named William Mafood, who owns the largest beverage and distribution company in the Caribbean and Jamaica. And so when he walked into my gyms, we're showing the gyms and stuff, and we couldn't help ourselves. We were just noticing he was just staring at the beverage cooler, just staring at it. And obviously being a beverage guy, we were like, William, what's up? Like that. And he's like, have you ever thought about doing your own beverages? And I was like, yeah, actually, have you ever heard of Liquid Death? And then, for me, Liquid Death had already kind of opened that category of canned water. But I think what they did, in my opinion, not in my opinion, this is what they did. So you see that Pure Life sitting right there? So Liquid Death disrupted the single-use plastic industry of budget water. So your Zephyr Hills, your Poland Springs, your Aquafinas, your Dasanis, these cheap water brands that are killing us and not good water. And they kind of said, there's a better way. Death to plastic is their whole thing. Murder your thirst is their thing. And what I saw was like, okay, awesome. That's really cool how they did it. I think it's genius. But I wanted to do it from a wellness standpoint and from a premium standpoint. So I was like, because first of all, I didn't want to be competitive with Liquid Death. I wanted to disrupt my own category. And so I thought, let's disrupt the premium category. So when's the last time you've seen Fiji, Aquapana, Saratoga, Pellegrino, Perrier, with a commercial? You don't really see that. They're basically more direct to club, direct to restaurant, direct to bars. It's like, they just kind of go about it, and it's been going on for 40, 50 years. These are the premium waters. But most of them are still in plastic or in glass, and no one has really said, oh, I'm going to do it like Liquid Death did it. So immediately I hit up all my contacts in the Miami Heat, and I was like, hey, I want to be the official premium water of the Miami Heat. And they were like, are you crazy? And I was like, no, can you get me in the room? And through my connections, they got us in the room. And about 17 meetings later, we actually replaced Fiji. And we have a 5-year deal of being the official premium water of the Miami Heat in the Kaseya Center. And it was through a lot of testing and a lot of, going back and forth. But that is the goal. The goal, we're going to have an 8-ounce can. We're going to have a 1-liter glass bottle. So our intention and what we're trying to do is disrupt the premium category. And then I think what really separates us is what's in the can. For me, coming from a wellness background, I heard a lot of Liquid Death talk about, to your point, doesn't matter what's in the can, it's the brand and all this. But I think, what if you can combine the two? What if you can have a message that goes beyond a product, like No Days Off, that people can really have that badge of honor, that they can know that they're drinking something that represents something bigger than self? And then what if what's in it is amazing? What's in it is actually good for you.
It really tastes great, I tell you.
So It took me about a year and a half of, I obviously had a lot of help, and had water sommeliers and these people that did water in Venezuela for 20 years for Pepsi. And we were literally wanted to come up with the purest, best water in the world. That's was our objective. So it took us a year and a half before we committed to this formula that's in the can. And what it is a 7-step reverse osmosis process that takes it down to the 1 micron. Reverse osmosis is a common term, and a lot of times a lot of companies use it, but they only take it down to like the 10 or the 5 micron. So we're taking it all the way down to the 1, which is really purifying it. Then we hit it with ozone, then we hit it with ultraviolet light, and then we pasteurize it. So we're purifying, everything. And we're also double pasteurizing, which means after it's already put in the can, then they shoot at the can to clean it even more. So they're cleaning the can inside and out. And then we put back these essential minerals back into the can for not only function, but also for taste. And that's why it's such I don't know if you can tell, but there's no aftertaste. It's a crisp, like soft on your palate. And there's no, anytime you drink something from plastic, you typically have an aftertaste, and this stuff doesn't. And so I say all that to say, I feel like we have a phenomenal product that checks both boxes. We're a strong brand with a message, but then what's in the product you can trust, and you can lean on as it's good for you.
No, I definitely I've searched many waters. This really does taste really, really amazing, and I do love the branding. So congratulations. I think you'll do tremendous with it. I think it'll be great. Tell us about your podcast, The Big Dogs.
So I saw, I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. I'm a big fan of, I love what you said when I walked in about having conversations and allowing people to disagree and talking through it. Because I do believe that we're more similar than we are different. But you have to look at it from that lens. Yeah. And I enjoy kind of getting on the other side of people and really trying to see their perspective. And then trying to maybe I don't agree, but just at least understanding it. And then having that conversation to try to come to a safe place of just, okay, you believe that, I believe this, but we can still live in the same world or what have you. So that was important to me. And then also just giving myself a little bit of a platform to bring on, I'd been training so many different people to bring on guests that have something to say. And it's been interesting, and I'm sure you get this all the time, of people reaching out and just wanting to be on the podcast and wanting to have a conversation. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I've had people that you can barely get a word in otherwise, or that, it's like pulling teeth to get them to talk. So it's an interesting...
it's a journey.
It's definitely interesting. And I don't think some people say they've enjoyed it and they say I do a great job, but I personally feel like I have a long way to go in terms of like really understanding the flow and understanding how to do this. But it's been fun.
I'm sure it's definitely it's never-ending learning for sure.
Yeah.
And what's something that you're grateful for?
Family, like I have amazing family. So mom, dad, brother, sister-in-law, and then obviously my wife and my son and my aunt and her side of the family. Just our family is just amazing. They're very supportive. I kind of like left, not left the family, but kind of like really was like dialed in, and didn't go home a lot and like was just busting my ass, being an entrepreneur. And they always, even though they didn't really understand it, I don't think, they always supported it. And then now as, a little success comes and you're actually to have the vacations and do the things with your family, it's just really cool to be in that position to give back to them, and just grateful. Having a son is like, it's the best thing in the world. And, having a supportive wife that gets your, you're crazy, and gets the fact that, she never is like, why are you on the phone? Or, why are you working so much? She's just supportive. Like she gets it. Like she gets the 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like she gets it. Like she understands that, I have to be available. I'm always working. This is what we're doing. I'm building an empire, and this is just what's required, and I need your support. And she gives it to me, and it's just an unconditional. I don't have to worry about that, and which is amazing. And then I have a daughter coming. So May 26th, I have another addition to the family. Mm-hmm. So Sage will be coming to our lives. So that's a little, not scary the word, but it's going to be interesting. All my guy friends that tell me they have daughters, they say it changes your life. So I'm sure it will.
Each child is a tremendous blessing.
Yeah.
My wife told me something the other day about family. Family's super complicated. It says, in the Old Testament, it said, honor your father and your mother, and I find that to be and she was saying to me, there's a reason why it's written there, because that relationship, whether you're looking at your child now, to them as you're going to get older, or to your parents as they're getting older, right? And it's like, and he's like, there's a reason why, if you believe in that, right? Like God gave us the Bible, right? Then there's a reason why it's a commandment, because it's not easy. Sometimes we go through crazy life and we're trying to do stuff and we're in our mind and we're going through these things. But so many guests, when I ask them about what they're grateful for, because I always ask that, over and over that they say about their family. They're grateful for their wife, for their kids, for their parents, for support system. So I saw you got a little emotional there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
it's hard not
I'm
to.
sure there's a journey there. I'm sure there's a journey there, and we all have journeys on that stuff. So so you should enjoy them. You should enjoy them while we're healthy.
For sure.
That's super important. And what's something about you that people don't know?
I would say I think most people, when they, I've been getting this a lot in my whole life, is that, my wife and I laugh about it sometimes, that I have a tendency to, I look serious all the time. That she calls it, the resting bitch face, but it's like, it's my resting thinking face. Like I'm intimidating is what I get a lot, and I'm intimidating. And I think
you're actually a softie, by the way.
Exactly. And I think that most people, if they really got to know me, I'm goofy as hell. I love to sing. I love to dance. I'm a very artsy person. Like I love fashion. I love art. I love creating. Like I'm way different than a meathead, like it's like, and I get put in this category because I have muscles and I'm big, and it's been my whole life. I've always been that way. Like I used to go shopping with my mom, and I used to, help her with interior decorating. So I believe I'm way different than what people probably think. And I think it's why I've like kind of gotten to where I am today too, because of, I'm versatile in that, but I don't think people really get to know that person because I don't even know if they want to necessarily. So yeah, so I would say that's what
I think the real people do want to know that. I think that's what it is. In other words, I think that your journey took you to where you are, right? So you've had to, I guess, through the pain and through the things that you've been through, had to, you faced and you were accountable for your life.
Yeah.
And that's why it looks that way. But meanwhile, there's something else there,
right,
for sure.
Exactly.
Which is what I see typically. Yeah. I want to say thank you very much, Manning, for this time. And how can people learn more about you? Maybe train at Legacy Gyms or listen to your podcast?
Well, we have 6 locations here in Miami, about to have 7. We're actually building out a phenomenal 12,000 square foot facility in Little River, and super encouraged by that. At No Days Off is our like kind of brand handle, and my personal Instagram's at Manning Sumner. And there's then the Big Dogs podcast you can find Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and stuff like that. But yeah, so
I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's really been great. Only blessings.
Yes, you too.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Manning. If you're watching this show on Facebook or YouTube, we'd be grateful for a like, share, and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, feel free to leave a 5-star rating and review. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.